Hi, this is Keiko from Brooklyn Shoe Space. Today for Shoe Talks Quarantine Edition, I'm inviting Sean Williams of OST Paper Chaser. He's an educator, curator, he's a storyteller, he knows everything about sneakers, I feel like. I met him a while back. He's actually on, so maybe I'll put him on so we won't waste time because he can tell us all about what he does because he does so much. It's so hard to introduce him in a nutshell. So let's have him.
Keiko!
Hi, Sean. How are you?
All right, what's up? How you doing?
Good. I'm okay. How are you doing? Are you in Brooklyn?
Nope, I'm
No.
out of town right now. I'm down by a beach. That's the little mural behind me.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I
Nice.
needed to get a little removed from the hustle and bustle of our
Mm-hmm.
beloved city.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it took
And
a
it's
couple of days to do that, you know?
nice. And it's also July 4th weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'll be out of here and back to New York by then because
Oh,
the rest
okay.
of the rest of the
Rest of the
country is having a spike,
right.
and the New York area is actually pretty good right now. So
Safer. Yeah.
perfect time to come home, you know?
Yeah. So how have you been doing? How has it impacted you, the COVID lockdown?
Well,
You
you
had a
know,
you had a show going on. Did
yeah,
you? Yeah. Tell
yeah,
us
I
a
had a
little bit.
lot.
Hmm.
We had a lot going on. We were in the middle of myself and in partnership with Accessories Council and LIM College. We were actually getting ready to do something to celebrate the impact of women in the sneaker business, and
Ooh.
the pandemic caused for that to be canceled.
That's
I
too
didn't want
bad.
to do I didn't want to do an online. Because I felt like we
Yeah.
needed to give the women a full celebratory, in-person, you know, touch, feel, see in real time kind of thing. Because there was also an exhibit piece to it. So,
Mm. Mm.
so I guess we'll start with me introducing myself to folks,
Yes,
and
please.
I never like to assume everyone knows me. I've had my share of people who I've met before where they assume everyone is supposed to know them, but my name is Sean Williams.
Yes.
I am the co-founder of Obsessive Sneaker Disorder. We started as the first sneaker talk show in 2007, the literally first sneaker podcast slash talk show ever. By 2009, my partner D Wells and I, we started doing a lot of consulting
Mm-hmm.
for big brands, small brands, sneaker brands, all different kinds of retailers.
Mm-hmm.
And through the consulting lens, we were exposed to a lot of things that we saw were wrong with the industry,
Mm.
in particular, a lack of women
Mm-hmm.
and people of color representation.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of that, we started in 2011. We
Mm-hmm.
started social studies,
Yes.
SOLECIAL, social studies, our industry education program.
Mm-hmm.
So, we started that with the goal of making sure that people, number one, learn about the industry from a
Yep.
business and cultural perspective.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And then we also wanted to make sure that people either had three things that they were able to take away. And that was smarter consumers,
Yeah.
knowing what you were buying sneakers for, not just the hype.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other piece was entrepreneurship. And if you weren't built for entrepreneurship, we would help you with being able to apply for jobs in the footwear industry on the
That is
corporate
so
side of
great.
things.
That is so
So
great. Mm-hmm.
thank you. So those are the three things that we started the mission and program with social studies for. And as you see now in today's climate, now more than ever, social studies and what we've done it for is more relevant than
Yes.
it's ever been before.
Yes.
So for us, when we stopped doing the talk show, it was always about what was the next level of being able to teach, curate, and share experiences with sneaker culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that was for us through exhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on the curation team for the Rise of Sneaker exhibition when it came to
Brooklyn
first when it
Museum.
started in 2013 in
Yeah.
Toronto at the Badashi Museum,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then in 2015 at the Brooklyn Museum,
Mm-hmm.
which we had a lot more involvement and exposure to there. And then that exhibition went on to tour the rest of the world and the country. But from that experience with curating the exhibition and being on the team to help put that together, we realized that there was strength in being able to control the narrative and tell our own story. So we started doing our own exhibitions and being able to curate them with a lot less politics and not worrying about certain things that through a museum you kind of have to worry about. This is our story. We're going to tell it our way, you know.
Yeah.
And you understand that, Keiko, from a culture perspective, where people shouldn't be coming in from outside trying to curate your experience.
Right.
And that's the ownership of sneaker culture that we have, is we feel like everybody who has been sincerely a part of sneaker culture and in the sneaker business to the level that we have, we own the experience. So you can't come in and tell us how to tell the story.
Right.
So, we've always done it from a place of authenticity and a place of, and the other thing is a place of not assuming everybody knows everything about sneakers.
Yes.
Because, out of the $80 billion globally that sneakers generate, a very small percentage of them are sneaker lovers and quote unquote, I hate to use the term, but quote unquote sneaker heads.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about sneakers and you're talking about the industry, and you're talking about the cultural impact and influence and everything, you can't just talk to that small preaching to the choir audience.
Right.
You have to be able to share this with people who are walking in the door from day one and know literally nothing.
Right.
So we've made it our business to always be able to share the experience from that point.
That is
and
so great.
Most recently, we finished last summer the From the Feet Up Sneakers Hip Hop in New York City exhibit at the Port Authority bus terminal. So that was a lot of fun for us because we that was the first time a government agency partnered with anyone in sneaker culture to put on an exhibit, and we had an amazing time putting that public art exhibit together.
Yeah. And it's so public and everybody really can see it, which is amazing.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we told that story at the Port Authority bus terminal because of its instrumental role. That building and that place's instrumental role in spreading sneaker culture and hip hop culture, because people came through and left through the Port Authority for various reasons.
Yeah, there's history to it.
So it resonated with them and they got it, and they allowed us to do the first leg of the exhibit was in a small space that we had for about 2 months. And after those 2 months, those 58 days approximately, we had about 4.5 million people in foot traffic and exposure.
Wow. That's great.
So it really, it resonated with a lot of people, and,
do you
a public art exhibit like that really resonated with folks. We were going to be done, to be honest, Keiko. We were going to be done at that stage because we had the space from that particular time, June 3rd to July 31st. And then we wanted it to be just like hip hop culture, where if you saw back in the days graffiti on trains.
Yeah.
And if you saw it when you saw it run, that was great. You got a picture of it maybe, or it's, lodged in your memory forever. But after that, it's gone. But when we started reaching close to the deadline, the folks at the Port Authority bus terminal said, we want to give you a bigger space and we want you to keep this going for another couple of months.
Oh, great.
So we ended up doing that. But of course, now we had other things going on. It was a much bigger space.
Yeah.
And we had to find a way to curate it where there was a lot of energy there and create more of an excitement behind it, as opposed to the small space, static, passerby exhibit that we had, which we were actually good with because it was very low maintenance. We really had to just go in and just share, curate the pieces and, make sure everything was there, and people could just pass by 24/7.
Yeah.
That was the other thing.
Yeah.
This was a 24/7 public art exhibit.
Right.
And we were really happy with the way that went because it required so little maintenance from us.
Yeah.
It just needed to be a secure space.
Right.
We go back every now and then and check and make sure things were all in place, still hanging right, nothing crazy happened. And we were good with that. So when they gave us the extension, we said, all right, so now we have to broaden the experience. So we turned it not just into a broader play on hip-hop apparel and albums and things like that we included. We expanded the sneaker base a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but we allowed people to come into the space and start recording their podcasts there.
Wow, that's
So,
cool.
so 2 or 3 times a week, people were coming in for that additional 2 months,
Uh-huh.
recording their live podcasts in
Uh-huh.
our space.
Uh-huh.
And these were people who we were aware of their podcasts. We've been interviewed by them, or they were friends, and we just wanted to give them,
A
a place that
space.
felt like home, because it
Mm-hmm.
was full of all this hip hop memorabilia and sneakers and everything,
Uh-huh.
and it just felt like a great space for them to have fun and record their podcast and share their story, and that
That's
worked out very well.
great.
So we ended up by the end of those additional 30 days, just about,
Mm-hmm.
we ended up with, actually it was 40 more days, yeah, just about. So we
Mm-hmm.
ended up with, in 88 days, we ended up with 9.8 million in foot traffic and exposure total
Wow.
for everything.
Wow, that's great. That's great. How did you get into it? I mean, as a culture, as a child growing up, is that kind of like this? Did you just grow up with a ton of sneakers in your life and you
Yeah.
collected it? And then were those from the exhibition also mostly your owned um, shoes, or were they borrowed?
So sneaker culture for me goes back to 13 years old. And it was
Wow.
no sneaker culture then. It
No.
was just, growing up in New York City, being a kid growing up as part of the hip hop experience in New York, in Brooklyn, immersing yourself in the various aspects of the culture, b-boying, graffiti,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all of the elements. They had a uniform.
Mm,
And sneakers were, of course, part of that uniform. If
mm,
you were a b-boy, dancing, you had a preference for a certain kind of shoes.
mm,
If you went to the train yards or wherever to write graffiti, you had another preference.
mm,
If you were a DJ, you had another preference. You were
mm-hmm.
MC, you had another preference.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of reasons for why there was a very diverse choosing of the shoes that were chosen in hip hop culture.
Mm,
There was no sneaker game. It didn't exist.
right.
Sneakers were just part of a hip hop uniform. So I'm one of those kids who grew up in that era. It
Mm,
just so happened as I got older,
mm-hmm.
sneakers became a constant in everything that I was doing. And when I got jobs, I made sure I always had money to buy my own sneakers, and
Uh-huh.
buying them at a point where it didn't even make sense for anyone my age to own that many pairs of shoes.
How many
So
pairs do you own? May I ask?
over There's two answers to that question. I have a very manageable and well curated 300 right now,
Whoa. Uh-huh. At home,
but
or is it like in a storage?
in two different places.
Yeah.
And over the span of 35 years, I've owned over 4,000 pairs of sneakers.
Wow. Wow. And each of them have a story behind it.
Always a story in a
Yes.
box.
And
I even to this day, some of the shoes that the brand's retro now, that the trends say that they're hot right now, some of them weren't even hot when they originally came out to us.
wow. 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 That is so cool. How did you get into teaching? Was it
So
so when you were doing
really,
the podcast, was that kind of like your full-time thing that you were doing, or was that your passion as a
well,
project on the side?
we all still have jobs. We were still
Mm-hmm.
working, and then every Wednesday night we would get together for the
Mm-hmm.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But through some friends in the industry, myself and OSD's co-founder D Wells
Mm-hmm.
people started telling us that the people at the brands are listening to your podcast to figure out how to do their jobs. So you
Right.
have people in marketing and all these different positions who are in Beaverton and Portland and all these,
Mm-hmm.
Boston and all these other cities who
Yeah.
they're listening to us give them a guide to how to properly market and produce and develop and do all the things related to making shoes before they get into
Mm-hmm.
the box.
Uh-huh.
So
That's when
when,
you
well, that was when we finally had a conversation with Dwayne Edwards of Pensole,
uh-huh.
because we started social studies under Pensole. We are a part of the Pensole family.
Uh-huh.
So when Dwayne was getting ready to leave Nike and Jordan Brand and start Pensole,
Pencil.
he
Mm-hmm.
said, you guys should really consider the educational route, because what you guys have been doing is you're educating people. You are
Yeah.
actually really, there's a value there to what you guys are doing that you were unaware of. And now that you're aware of it, you should really take action and just push forward with a whole educational program. So he actually named social studies. Social studies, Dwayne gave us that name for the program.
It's a good one.
Yep, it sticks. It's catchy.
Yeah. We had some students that came to our studio to make some shoes from your school too. School or courses. Yeah.
Yep. I always make sure that when people are interested in knowing that next level of designing, and you really need that intensive education and experience on what it takes to actually make a shoe, because it makes you a better designer. So for a lot of people in our area, anybody asks me, it's Brooklyn Shoe Space. It's without hesitation. It's like breathing. So a lot of people have found it necessary to go and experience what you've had to offer, because they've seen how serious we are with critiquing their designs. Do I have design experience? I do not. But because of my exposure through being able to teach at Pensole, and I'm a mentor to a lot of footwear designers around the world, at least 50.
Wow.
So to have them constantly seek insight and guidance and wisdom from me, so that when they're designing, they have, either a cultural perspective or the right storytelling element. There are things there that they know that they're missing, because we taught them that when you're designing and you want to produce product, these are the things that should be a part of that experience. So I'm able to speak the footwear design language very effectively to them. And then I also know how to put them in the direction of the people like Brooklyn Shoe Space, who give them the additional perspective and the much needed fundamentals that they need to do their job properly. So it's always been for us, even though our strength is business and culture, we know that these shoes are being made and marketed to people, and the people who are making and marketing, they're having a conflict. Because you have designers who know what should be going into selling particular product to people, but then you have marketers who want to spin it in a negative way, or a way that has a lot of half-truths and just quote unquote, for lack of a better way to say it, a lot of marketing bullshit. So people know that they have to play the game when you're in with the big brands, and you have to work with marketing and development and, all the people who come into play. And a design is not just a simple sneaker design, but they want to know that they have a foundation and skill well-rooted in what we're telling them is the right things to put into the experience, and master your craft.
Yeah. That's so you mentor so many people. Did you ever have a mentor?
Oh, I still have mentors now. I still have mentors. Dwayne Edwards is a mentor. My business partner, D. Wells, is a mentor. And you're not too old. I'm 48 years old, and I'm still looking and seeing the things that people around me are accomplishing. And I'm not just going to say, because I'm your same age and I've been around just as long as you, that there's something I can't learn from you. That's just, that's just really just arrogant and foolish. And because I have a love for the sneaker industry that goes back so long, I really have I have two phases to my sneaker experience. So there's the pre-OSD sneaker experience, where I was just someone who bought a lot of shoes because I was making a lot of money, and I shouldn't have bought all those shoes, but I love sneakers and I loved having nice outfits and everything growing up. So there's that piece right there. And then when we started OSD, there was the renewed passion through being exposed to all of these business situations and all of these things that were wrong with the business. So that just kind of pushed things into overdrive in terms of how important we really take making sure that we're educating people, we're empowering people, and we're pushing people to get into the industry. So I have like two phases of my love and experience with the industry.
But they two phases, but they all combine to be who you are now, and you're really helping so many people. Are you working on anything right now? Is there like something in the line down the line?
So because of the pandemic, we're working on offering a free class to a lot of people who currently work in the sneaker industry who've lost their jobs. So we've partnered with DJ Rich Medina, great homie, educator and sneaker lover. and great DJ as well. And we're soon going to be announcing the plans for rolling out that social studies class for people to apply to who have lost their job because of the pandemic. So we want to make sure that people who have fallen out of, you know, the ranks and working in the industry, they don't lose that passion because now they feel like they have to pivot and do something else.
Right.
So
That's
we're going to be announcing that soon. And, you know, we really, that was our way of saying, and it's a free class. We normally charge for social studies, but it's a free class. And we just want people to stick with it. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah. Wow, that's generous. I know people have probably asked you this, but what's your favorite sneaker of all time?
Nike Air Max 1 from 1987.
87.
Yep.
I gotta look at it to see like colorways. Do you know the designers? Like
first sneaker with the visible air bubble, designed by Tinker Hatfield.
Yeah.
So that shoe changed everything. And even all these years later, 30 plus years later, I've never gotten a reaction quite like that shoe when I brought that shoe back to my neighborhood.
That's cool.
People lost their mind.
Yeah. Have you ever made a pair of shoes or sneakers for yourself with Dwayne at Pencil, or do you have somebody
here's the
else
interesting thing.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing about that, right? And people ask all the time, you know, with you guys' involvement in the industry, how come you guys have never made your own sneaker? So we've been in talks with a few brands over the years to release our own shoe in collaboration with said brands. And the problem with every one of those, well, one, they flaked on us 4 months, 5 months into the project, and then they just scrapped it.
Oh.
But the other two who we were working
time
with,
for you. Yeah.
yeah, totally waste of time. But the other two, we gave them a condition that we know that collaborations are pretty much a loss leader. So we're not doing this to make money.
Right.
How about the money that we do make? Let's do this for charity. Let's do this for
that would be great. No,
so
they
that
wouldn't agree.
And they wouldn't do it.
Oh.
Because the goal with collaborations is to take advantage of the hype that is generated behind who they're collaborating with.
Right.
So because we said that we wanted to do this and wanted it to be something bigger than ourselves, they flake.
Oh.
So we've had a few opportunities over the years to do it. It just hasn't worked out yet. Hopefully one day it happens. I mean, to be honest, at this stage in the game, I feel like it will eventually come by us producing our own product.
Yeah.
That's actually where I think it'll come from.
Yeah. And I think you can. There's you have the connections as well.
Yeah.
And you can.
And we got you.
Well, I don't know about production, but I know a lot of people who do, and now there's one in Philly, you know, and I'm sure you know all these guys. But that would be great, because for the greater cause, that's a loss for the companies that, you know, nixed it, because it has a longer term impact, I feel like.
Everything we do, Keiko, has 3 words to it: appreciate, educate, elevate. And those are the 3 that we bring to the table with everything that we do. So if a brand wants to reach out to us to do a collaboration of any kind, we put that out up front, that those are the 3 that have to be a real key element to what we're doing. At least 2 out of the 3 have to be there.
Yeah.
If 1 out of the 3 is there, then and we're missing 2 of those, then we're not interested.
Right.
And a lot of brands have just simply not been interested.
Right.
Oh, how times have changed right now, where now all of a sudden brands care about the Black community, and they care about showing that they have somewhat of a concern for now, you know, our inclusion in the process and treating us better. So we'll see where that piece ends up. Yeah. But for us, we never wavered from putting those 3 into everything that we do.
Yeah.
So
for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not interested in anything that takes us off that path. Yeah. So the opportunities to do shoes have been far in between, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But I can say, not too long ago, last year, and this was something that I did privately, and I just put them out. I did a short run of Nike Bayou Air Max 1s with the theme of Nightcrawler from the X-Men.
Oh.
So I'm a big X-Men fan, and Nightcrawler is one of my favorite mutant superheroes in the X-Men. So I did a very limited run
Yeah, how
of
many
those.
pairs did you make?
I wanted to stop at 15, but I ended up stopping at about 25.
Uh-huh. Did it like
So
fly like pancakes? Did it?
it took a little bit of time, but they were very highly sought after. So I kind of spaced out the amount of time it took for me to get them all out to people. But originally the plan was to do 15. I stopped at 25, and now that's done. And next year this summer I'll probably be doing another X-Men character.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, if you had unlimited resource and time in the world, what would you do? What kind of exhibition would you do?
Oh man, I have a couple of exhibits
Or
coming up
mhm,
now that I can't wait for, the means either through technology or through a physical space to
mhm,
actually do.
mhm.
Um, and the themes behind them, I wish I could say what it is, but we're working on it behind the scenes right now.
Okay. Okay, you
But
don't
but
need to. Mhm.
but the longer term, the goal is to open the Social Studies Community Academy in Brooklyn. So
Ooh.
we're going to
Mhm,
open an actual physical space, an
mhm,
actual
mhm,
school
mhm.
where you can come in and, community based,
I'm
where you
losing
can
you for
get
a
social
second.
studies.
Hmm.
You can get social
That would be
studies
cool.
instruction community based,
Yeah, yeah,
in Brooklyn.
yeah, that would be so great.
That's
Yes.
our goal.
Do you think the exhibition you did at Port Authority would travel in other cities?
My co-curator, Cole Rodriguez, and I, we spoke about that. And we spoke about the ability for From the Feet Up to travel to whoever wants it.
Hmm.
And we're very, very much interested in doing so. So I think the pandemic has kind of put a pause on people wanting to give people a reason to gather in a physical space
Yeah,
en masse.
yeah.
But we're still very interested in even the ability to do it virtually.
Mm,
We're putting the plans together now to actually do a short film about the
mm,
experience.
mm-hmm.
And on our IG Live, our IGTV, we actually have the first 5 episodes of the mini doc series we put up
Uh-huh.
for the exhibit at the Port Authority. So we've
Uh-huh.
created some content around
Yeah,
it
yeah,
already
yeah,
for folks who missed it. We knew people around the world were going to be interested once they got wind of it.
yeah,
So we have this mini doc series. We shot it guerrilla style because the Port Authority, again, is a government agency.
yeah.
So there was a lot of,
Red
red tape
tape.
that you would have had to
Yeah,
navigate in order to film it. So
right.
we were really fast and furious and on the fly. And,
Uh-huh.
we have 5 episodes out now of the mini doc series, which they turned out really good. Shout out to Kick Game Rick James. That's my partner, George, who
Uh-huh.
he took care of that.
Uh-huh.
And he shot the mini doc series and edited. And, my boy Gary Wallace, he did some of the music supervision along with myself. And then to everybody who's in the episodes. We have a few more episodes that are coming soon because we
Ooh.
really did some great stuff in the space. And we documented all of that because, again, we have to tell these stories and we have
Yes.
to own it.
Yes.
So we didn't get a lot of media attention
Mm.
from a lot of spaces for the exhibit.
Mm.
ESPN did, Hollywood Shuffle did.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a few people come through. Video Music Box, which is big in the hip hop community.
Uh-huh.
We had some people come through and really show their support for the exhibit.
Uh-huh.
But again, we wanted to make sure we owned wholeheartedly the narrative and own how the story was told about this historic exhibit.
Mm.
So we're actually going to put the short film piece out after we get all the mini doc episodes out. But
Very
those are
cool.
up now. The first 5 episodes are up now on the IGTV for the exhibit, which is at tour, TOUR
Uh-huh.
underscore
Uh-huh.
FTFU.
FTFU.
So it's
Okay.
tour underscore from the feet up,
Okay,
FTFU.
FTFU. Okay.
Yeah.
I took note of that.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
that's the goal, is to open the Social Studies Community Academy,
Uh-huh.
continue to still own our narrative and tell our story. We're going to be doing an OSD website relaunch.
Okay. There's a
Yeah,
lot going on.
we're going to be doing a relaunch. And then we also are in talks for a couple of new, renewed partnerships with some universities. Because as you know, I was ranking scholar at
Yep.
Drexel University in 2018,
Yep.
where I also had an exhibit there
Mm.
called the Soul of Philadelphia, which
Mm-hmm.
was at their Media Arts College.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had a partnership, which we're working on strengthening even further, with LIM in
Mm.
Midtown Manhattan.
That's great. That is so good. And do you take interns from these college universities or students that want to help you?
Well, that's what we're trying to work on now is we don't have the capacity for personal interns for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to be able to connect the interns to the brands.
Ah, nice, nice.
So to act more like, an agency for lack of a better description, we want to
Right.
be the agency that gets the interns for these brands.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Right, right. But like you have so much knowledge and like the stories and everything, like you have I would love for you to pass it down to somebody in the form of, I don't know, I guess that's what you're doing on the web and everything, all the
Well,
curations and everything.
we're working on a book. We're working on a
Ooh,
book,
that's
and, and
exciting.
and working on a book is probably one of the hardest things I've ever
Yeah,
had to do.
yeah. It's a long process, right?
And the reason being is we are both in the education space and we're in sort of, the collector space, if you
Yeah,
will, which,
yeah,
I hate to use that, but that's kind of where we are because people know us before OSD
yeah.
for being, serious players in sneakers. And then now that we've taken on this role as,
Hmm.
the educators and the advocates
Yeah.
and the mentors and whatnot. So there's these two worlds that I'm struggling with being able to put into a book because a publisher doesn't know where to put me.
Hmm. I see it all in like one. It would be, huh? Like with,
They don't see it
oh,
as one because and this is just for everybody listening who you're into or considering making your own book. A publisher, if you're seeking a publishing deal, they want to know who they can put you against on the shelf. Who's the
okay,
competition?
okay,
So because of me wanting to bring in that collector space, where is this book going to be something that goes up against like the Sneaker Freaker book, or is this
right,
something that goes up against another book of some sort with an educational value?
huh?
So I'm stuck in the middle on both of those, and I'm slowly
I,
trying to work it all
I
out.
feel like
But
you have the Brooklyn upbringing. I'm not sure actually if you grew up in Brooklyn.
born
Um,
and raised.
yes. So
Hmm.
like the whole culture, the history of everything from you were talking about the graffiti to the music to fashion and then the dance and then all the collect items that you've been collecting with a story behind it. It's almost
Yep.
like it could maybe it's more like what's it called when it's a not a biography
Autobiography.
kind of in that realm, but like way more including culture and info and stories and almost like, I don't know. It's not a coffee table book, but like very visual too, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
So
know.
so that's what we're struggling with.
Hmm.
That's my battle in particular. That's the hardest thing right
Okay.
now, coming up with the space for a book. But
Mm.
we're working on the new exhibitions. We're working on, again, we're going to put out that social studies program for people in the industry that lost their jobs and
Yeah,
they want to stick with
you're
it.
busy.
Um,
Yeah.
the educational partnerships, a new exhibit, just really just
Mm.
staying with it. And and this is also for you. We have to thank folks like you for, supporting and being interested in partnerships that are going to push forward in the future because we all know, you and I, especially in particular, we know that with all of the change that's happening in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, you kind
Mm-hmm.
of have to stick your flag in the ground on,
Yeah.
the genuine authenticity of, what you're offering to the people.
Yeah.
They don't want
Yeah.
the homogenized version and hipster
Yeah.
version of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, they've seen enough of that.
Yeah. I agree. What would you do differently post-corona? Do you feel like you can go back into your teaching space, or do you feel like you need to change it up a bit, like one-on-one, not one-on-one, but like
Well, here's
face-to-face?
the interesting thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we started social studies in 2011, it was
Mm-hmm.
actually the first physical class was in partnership with Dwayne Edwards at Parsons New School of Design.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I want to say 2010, about
Mm-hmm.
2010.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I
Mm-hmm.
had some friends through working at MTV Networks in the past, because I have
Mm-hmm.
experience working there,
Mm-hmm.
that gave me space to do a physical class at MTV's headquarters in Times Square for an
Oh,
entire summer.
wow. Wow, that's great. Uh-huh.
So we were bringing people to this crazy,
Yeah.
Times Square, center of the world, nice office
Yeah.
building, MTV,
Yeah.
and people around the world started saying, yo, like, we want to take your class, like, but I can't afford to come to New York,
Yeah.
but I really want to take your class. So
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing online education since 2011.
Mm.
We've been offering the class for that long online. We have
Online.
students that we've taught from 9 different countries around the world
Yeah.
through our online education platform. So we've been ahead of the curve as far
Yeah.
as that goes,
Mm-hmm.
because of the global reach that sneakers has.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
sneakers in my closet from countries that I've never been to, but I have
Yeah.
friends there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the power of when people connect through
Yeah.
sneakers. So
Yeah.
we had to really put that into the theme of how we were going to offer social studies. So we've
Mm.
been doing it for that long online.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So you feel like that's kind of just gonna go and even grow more
Well,
online?
well, secondary education is now caught up. So
Right.
now we're starting to have conversations with colleges and universities who now want to implement the online experience that way,
Mm-hmm.
the way we've been doing it. They want to work with us, but they say, oh, well, how do we do this online? And we say,
Huh.
well, we've been doing it for 9 years.
Yeah, that's
Here's how
great.
you do it online.
That's
So
great.
we've been able to guide them down that
Mm-hmm.
road
Mm-hmm.
to, if this is a new offering that you want to offer your students,
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing this for this long. We
Mm-hmm.
got this.
Mm-hmm.
You got to follow us. This is how it's done.
Can I ask social studies, are they what are the not demographic, the student body? Is it younger in age, older? Is it mostly
So here's the great thing
women?
about us.
Yeah.
Here's the great thing about us. We have been able to teach social studies on every level. We
Mm-hmm.
can do it through an arts-based thing for students as young as first grade.
Wow.
And then we have also, my oldest student
Mm-hmm.
has been 62 years old when we've taught it
Wow.
privately. Yep.
Wow, that's so great.
We've had
Oh,
people who work for the brands come and take social
yeah,
studies.
yeah.
We've had people who weren't working for the brand when they took social studies, and after social studies, they end up working
Applied,
for a
yeah.
brand.
Mm-hmm.
So we have close to 50 people who have taken social studies that work in the industry, that ended up
That's
working
great.
in the industry afterwards.
Uh-huh. That's great.
So we really have such a range. It's just a matter of a discussion with who we're partnering with
Mm-hmm.
about what their main goal is
Mm-hmm.
for bringing social studies in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a STEAM high school
Mm-hmm.
and you want us to come in, we obviously have to teach you about sneakers from a STEAM perspective.
Yeah.
If it's a school in an underprivileged area where reading is something that they want to entice the students to do better, then we'll bring it in from a reading perspective, a historical perspective. You got to read everything with history. So it
Mm-hmm.
all depends on what the approach is they want us to have, and we tailor our curriculum to that to give them the
Wow.
experience.
I see. Okay. Yeah, no, now I'm understanding more. Yeah, because one thing I've been thinking about is inner city youth,
Yep.
and how maybe shoe space can be a place for them to come after school.
Yeah.
But to I don't know how to reach them, to be honest.
We can talk about that. That's easy. We can talk about that.
Okay. Well,
But the issue has always been, and this is regardless of what we're teaching, you and I, or if someone's teaching something else like knitting or crocheting or drumming.
Right.
You have to partner with a school that sees that there's a need for what you're offering, or they have to see that what you're
Mm,
offering complements what the main theme of the school is all about. Those are the
right.
only way you're going to find success,
Yeah. 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 So
because
you
there's a
do
lot of
have to deal
politics
with the
in dealing with,
DOE.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of politics in dealing with the DOE.
Yeah.
But that's the secondary piece that becomes the headache, really. The first piece, which is hard to come by, is it's not as simple as just going to the school 2 blocks away and having a
Yeah.
conversation with them saying, hey, I got the Brooklyn Shoe Space right down the street from you.
Mm,
I think we should do a program with, because if their priority is something else, like
yeah.
state exams
Yep.
or, something else, then they're
Yep.
not going to get the
Not
students to
gonna.
buy
Yep.
in.
Yep. No, I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yep. So
Yep.
that's we
Yep.
both share the same challenge. So we have to
Right.
find the right institutions that
Uh-huh.
get it and see the value that we bring in helping them achieve
Yeah.
their goal.
And now I see why you also want to open up your own school academy, because
Yep.
then you'll be there. It's
Hmm.
like people can come to you.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yep.
Is that like a 3 to 5 year goal, or is it more like a 10-year goal?
We're in year 3 of working on it now.
Okay. Wow. Cool. All
Yep.
right.
We're in
It's
year
gonna
3 of
happen.
working on it now. Yeah. So the tough part is, of course, navigating the real estate market in New York and
Yeah.
funding.
Yes.
So
Yes.
those two are the big challenges. We have everything in order behind the scenes. We have a full operational plan set.
Mm-hmm.
We have a partner we're going to be working with in Healing Souls.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be working with Steve and the good folks at Healing Souls. He's going to be a partner in the venture with us,
That's great.
because we wanted, again, to have that charitable, bigger than ourselves piece.
Yes.
So being a community-based organization and then we're still not doing anything to get back to the community doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So we partner with Healing Souls on the venture. So we're 3 years in on trying to get it all done.
Great. You have
But it is
so
going to
many
happen.
things. Yeah, it is gonna happen. I believe you. You have so many things going on at once. I think you're doing so many things, but they're all for like one goal, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating to see. Which say exhibition was your favorite? Do you feel like you're the from the feet up?
Yeah.
Is that one your baby exhibit?
That one was the favorite. I was honored to work on the Rise of Sneaker Culture exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum because they made me a point person for a lot that went on there.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to curate, to have an input on the curation. And then also I was doing like personal tours and really talking to the media about what the full meaning was for the exhibit,
Mm-hmm.
because it was historical in that, the Brooklyn
Yes.
Museum, wow, a
Yes.
sneaker exhibit. What?
Yes.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it's
And
fascinating. Yeah, I went with Mar and Elizabeth. Yes.
And the goal was, for, again, people who aren't in sneakers to finally see this in a different light. It wasn't for
Right.
sneakerhead. And we
Right.
took a lot of flack for that because people were like, oh, they didn't have these in there. They didn't have that. They didn't do this. And
You can't put everything in there, I guess.
you just can't make these quote unquote sneakerheads happy. And we didn't try to,
Right,
you know?
right.
So it was
That's
a great first
interesting.
experience. It was a great first
Uh-huh.
experience.
Uh-huh.
But from the feet up was truly ours from beginning to end. Myself, D. Wells, Cole Rodriguez, legendary graffiti artist
Yeah.
Keo, my assistant, Denise Mahoney, Gary Wallace. He took care of the graphics along with his partner Ray.
Mm-hmm.
My boy DJ Rhino, very long time DJ in the industry. I had some great. It's so many people I can name right now, but we had people who just once they saw what the vision was for what I wanted to do and where,
Mm-hmm.
because they were all New Yorkers,
They
the
got
energy
it.
and everything behind it was just so organic, and they
That's
got it.
great.
And
That's
we did the install for the first installation in.
mm-hmm. Wow.
That's how easy it was.
Everybody
48
just
hours.
came to
Yep, 48
wow.
hours.
That's great. That's so great. I really hope that it can travel um the country.
I think that it will when people are a little less timid about people being in,
Yeah.
a
Slowly.
space in
Yeah.
mass,
Yeah.
which I'm okay either way with.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to come along and we can develop some technology to do it digitally in the virtual realm, where we can actually recreate a space and then we'll
Hmm.
do some virtual reality type programming,
Yeah.
or we can put it in a space and start doing some live streams similar to what we're doing now. There's multiple ways it can be done, but it has to be done with the level of impact behind what the very first exhibit space was.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
looking for, if we could do 9.8 million people
Yeah.
in 88 days in a physical space in New York City, in one metropolis. If
Yeah.
we're going to offer
You
something
can
like
do.
that to the world, it has to be
Yes.
something where we have a reach of at least 10 times that.
Wow. 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 Yeah. 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 I think you can do it.
I'm I'm I'm,
But
I'm hoping I'm hoping that
you,
we can.
yeah. I know you're on a kind of like a holiday mode maybe, but are you wearing any sneakers right now?
I brought one pair of sneakers with me. The Adidas Night Joggers 3M.
Very cool.
So it was a collaboration between Adidas and 3M because the
Uh-huh.
Night Jogger model is the first
It
sneaker
has
that used 3M reflective
re
material on it.
hmm. Very
Yep.
cool. I feel like right now it's getting darker over there. Maybe.
Yep. It's
Yeah, but
getting a little darker.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Let turn on. There we go.
oh yeah. Nice.
There we go.
But no, thank you so much. Yeah, what do you see in like, I don't know, the youth? I feel like right now there's so much energy in the city.
Hmm.
Um, and I hope, it keeps on going and just yeah, yeah, the power to the people, really. So,
Well, we have to be, and here's something for people to remember, everybody that's watching.
mm,
All action doesn't have to be political.
right.
When people are out
I
on the
agree.
front lines of protesting and putting their lives on the line, we should be complementing that behind the scenes by fighting on the cultural level, the
I
artistic
agree.
level.
I agree.
The people
Yeah.
who are just as important right now are the creatives, the
Yeah.
photographers,
Yeah.
the graphic illustrators,
Yeah.
the journalists.
Yeah.
Those people are
And
just as important.
yes, I agree. HR can do a lot by
Yeah,
hiring.
the
Yeah.
human resources departments,
Yeah.
even the marketing department at these companies. There has to be a different level to the fight. There have to be multiple layers.
Yeah.
So we
And
can't just
your
look at what the
space is
news puts on.
sneakers. I feel like
Yeah, and
your space is sneakers and the culture
yeah,
and the
absolutely.
youth.
Like
Yeah.
anyone, who wants to gentrify the culture, and I'll call out who I call out, Complex, or organizations like that who try to gentrify the culture and take out the contributions of people of color, or
Hmm.
they abuse people's intellectual property.
Hmm.
I'm calling out people like that because you're not doing this for the same reasons that I do this.
Right.
you know
Right. Right. Yeah.
so those are the fights that have to happen too. Any publication that is in that same vein where there's no level of authenticity behind your coverage and you're not really supporting, you're trying to
Hmm.
ride a wave, we have
Hmm.
to stop giving those publications validity.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to what you do next. And I want Brooklyn Shoe Space, maybe offline, I'll reach out to you as well. The shoe space, we hope to get back into
Yep.
Brooklyn in the fall when the public schools open up. Today they just announced that it's going to open up. So
Yep.
I'll be back. And September, October, I'm looking for a space. And programming wise, I really want to get a little bit more behind accessibility because I think it was a part of for us. Sorry, I was trying to interview you and now I'm talking about me, but
I want you to talk. I want you to talk about you.
but the shoe space, rent was just so expensive in a storefront space, and so
Yeah,
that kind of reflected on our class prices as well.
of course. Yeah.
And I think once I kind of figure out a good balance of that and the space, I would really like to work more. We do have like scholarships as well, and I just announced directly to the people, and I haven't really announced it on Instagram, but
Mm-hmm.
because also we don't have a space yet, and it's like, oh, we'll be back, but hold on, but you will get a class, but I do want to work a little more with just, I feel like high school kids and college kids, but high school kids mostly, I think they
Well, there's a
can.
lot we'll be able to do together, and we will do it. And you're
We'll
sincere
keep the
about what you
conversation
do.
going.
Yeah, you're sincere about what you do. I'm sincere about what I do. Our missions, we have similar missions that are for the greater good.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to do some great things together for, the folks who have supported you and the folks who have supported us. And we're going to be able to do it right there in Brooklyn. We're going to put our flag in
Yes.
the ground,
Yes, let's do it.
right?
Yes, that sounds amazing. And thank you so much for keeping the culture rich in the way that you contribute to the community. And yeah, I would love
I'm
to meet
just,
your partner too one day.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, the interesting thing is Dee was actually at the Brooklyn Shoe Space before when we were filming our pilot for our show that went nowhere.
Yeah,
But he has been in the space. He did love the space. He met, Yuji, and he's met Mar and a few other folks.
yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
we're
Yeah.
family. We
Yeah.
are family.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch and let's make a movement
Yep, we
in our
will.
way.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Keiko.
Thank you so much for taking your time today.
And thank you for having me. To be continued.
To be continued. Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Later.